Welcome to Abridged, a podcast on everything Bracebridge, with your host, me, Mayor Rick Maloney.
Well, we have a guest with us today who has been very busy and has been heading up a department in Public Works that over the last several months has seen a lot of activity. Geoff Carleton, our Director of Public Works for the town of Bracebridge. Welcome to Abridged.
Thank you very much, Your Worship.
And we'll get right into it. Very busy winter. I can tell you that our crews have been out 24/7 just making sure that they're dealing the best they can with the challenges we've had this winter. Tell us a little bit about winter control and how it's been going so far this winter.
Definitely very busy.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Since that first storm in October, most of our guys have been running. Well, obviously we do 24/7 operations depending on what the weather is predicting and what's happening. But with the lake effect and the frequency of that lake effect flurry that's happening this season, and everyone can see around town with the accumulations that are there, it has been a continual drive. So our forces are plowing and moving snow off the roadways and sidewalks. And when it isn't snowing, we're out sanding and salting and maintaining, and then doing snow lifts as well. So
Yeah.
We've done night snow lifts, we've done day snow lifts. We have crews out through this weekend and this week again doing snow lifts. So we're constantly challenging, constantly looking at the weather, what's coming, the forecasts, and judging how we need to take some time off too and rest as well and repair vehicles and equipment as well.
How much snow have we actually got?
It'll vary depending on where you look, because the official measure is out of the Muskoka Airport. But some of the applications that we have and what we use for weather, it can be anywhere from 135 to 155 centimeters of snow sitting on ground right now.
Wow. And, when you start moving snow, particularly around my property, it's almost like seeing the layers of a log of a tree. You can see all those different days of snow as it's accumulated, and there's a lot of layers of snow that we've had. And one of the things that we haven't had this year is really a significant melt. We haven't had that real kind of January thaw that has given us a little bit of relief. How are the crews holding up?
The crews are doing great. We're very lucky in the town that our operators are absolute professional snow fighters, and they continue to do that. And we try to work with them to understand when they're being tired, when they're getting tired, when they're getting a little long in the tooth and kind of bored of the snow, as we all get frustrated with it.
Yeah.
We try to pick those windows. We call windows in weather, where the guys can get off, the operators can have a rest, can kind of recoup a little bit, spend some time with family, get some sleep, get caught up on their lives as well. If you can imagine, when we are calling in operations, it's 3:30, 4:30 in the morning, blinding snowstorm, 8, 10, 12 hours of plowing, and that can continue for about 7 or 8 days sometimes in length. So we try to pick those windows the same times that we're trying to do snow lifts and things like that when there's no accumulation. But overall, they've been fantastic and they're great. We're very lucky in the town to have that staff.
Absolutely. And I can tell you, I receive a lot of compliments from our crews and the work that they are about the work our crews do. And, I have nothing but praise for the effort that they put in this year, but all year round. And for many years, really, they do have that get her done attitude for sure.
Most definitely they do.
So how many kilometers of roads, sidewalks do we have in the town? I think folks would be kind of surprised on that. And then also we have snow responsibilities for the district roads as well.
That is correct. Yeah, we have an area maintenance agreement with the District of Muskoka. So we as the town provide all the winter maintenance and summer maintenance on all the district roads within that geographic area as well. So there is it's just shy of 100 kilometers of district road. I think it's about 98 kilometers, somewhere around there, of roadway. For us as the town, we have an additional 320 kilometers of roadway.
Wow.
Another 61 kilometers of sidewalk. Thankfully, at this point, we don't fully maintain all the trails currently through winter season. That would obviously be another significant impact. The thing to remember too with kilometers of roadway, I always think of kilometers as in, we drive to somewhere and it's 30 kilometers. But when you're plowing, it's doubled. It's lane kilometers, because you have to plow in and then plow back out, right? If you imagine going in your street to your home and then driving back out. So it doubles all of that.
Yeah, that's
it doubles those kilometers.
And absolutely a bang on point, because it's just not 320 for town roads. It's actually 640.
Correct.
It's 120 kilometers worth of sidewalks. It's about 250 kilometers worth of district roads. And, those routes, some of the plow trucks are doing those routes over and over and over during a snow event for sure.
Yeah.
give us a sense of what we have in terms of equipment and response. How many plows do we have? Sidewalk plows, snow road plows, and what's our crew complement?
Sure. So we currently have 16 operators, ranging operator ones and operator twos, and we also have two urban lead hands or lead hands, we'll call them. All of those folks are involved in all of our daily operations and activities, whether it's winter or summer, spring and fall. So we have a complement that way of staff. We have about 13 plow trucks, which are our heavy truck, our combo units. They can plow and apply winter solids at the same time. So plow in and then plow back out and apply whatever that application is required. We have three 1-ton trucks with plows. Two of them have a slide-in unit as well, so we can do some of our parking lots and supplement. We have 3 contract heavy trucks, tandem axle trucks that we use as well to help offset within our operations. And then we also contract out to local contractors for some of our parking lots, intersection clearing, sight line clearing. So when we push back the snow, everyone can see this year where you're pulling out to an intersection and you're creeping further and further out. So those are the sight lines that we're always trying to keep clear. So there's a definite balance between our own in-house forces as well as our contracted forces to deliver the service.
So and also, obviously, our operators, they can't operate a plow 24 hours. There's regulations, they need time off and things like that. So then we supplement with the contractors. Tell us a little bit about how long an operator can operate a plow, and then how we kind of shuffle that around so that we are, obviously continuing removing snow, but we use contractors in that.
Yeah, for sure. And it is what you said. It's the balance, and it's trying to find that balance. So under hours of service regulation, which is an Ontario regulations that license all commercial vehicle operators. So if it's a long haul logistics driver on a highway, driving a delivery truck or something like that, as well as our operators, the only time we're exempt from that is if we're under a significant weather event or if we're under an emergency, declared emergency. The total driving time on hours time and on duty times are all between that 13, 14, and 15, and there's a bit of a puzzle within that. But the way we look at it as over the course of a 14-day period, we try to keep our guys our operators usually around 10 hours of driving time. That keeps everyone safe. It keeps them below that hours of service volume. It helps them to get out, first off, get all the roads done and plow the roads and make them safe. To be able to get out of the shop, get back home, get a rest, get a meal, get rested up, and then come back in again, especially when we have these durations. So we try to run around that. We have about 13 routes that cover all of those roads. There's another 4 routes for sidewalks as well. We do have 5 sidewalk machines as well. I forgot to mention that before. So, and it's a very heavy duty type of application too. So the trucks and the sidewalk equipment, it's a lot heavier than just kind of plowing your driveway in a sense.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to manage through that, and then we look at the weather and we look at where those opportunities are, like we talked about before, the windows, where we can shut down operations to give people a break. And when we do have to send our folks home, we supplement that with contractors. We bring them in during the overnight period or the early morning period, and that keeps things open and it keeps us in compliance too with the minimum maintenance standards, which is another Ontario regulation that holds true to municipalities and their level of service for roadways and sidewalks.
So you did mention that when we do have these significant weather events, we've made 2 declarations, I believe, this winter. We're on our second one right now, currently in a declaration for a significant weather event. Maybe explain what that means and what that allows us as a municipality to do or not do.
Sure. Again, it's an Ontario regulation 239-02, which is the maintenance.
Let me write that down.
Exactly. I'm surprised I remembered it. But it is the prescription, we'll say, for our level of service, and council has adopted that service. We do maintain the roads a little bit higher than that standard, and that's kind of like what we call the community standard, where we do go out and treat all the roads as a Class 1 road in that first original snowfall, and then from there we start to move forward with that level of service. So a Class 6 road at the bottom of the level won't get as plowed as frequently as a Class 1. So when we're looking at that, and we're looking at the impacts to what our deliverable is, and we were talking about our complement and our contractors and what we can and can't do. And there's a limit to that. There's a limit to what we actually can accomplish. And when that significant weather event's coming and there's an impact where we can't deliver that service safely and effectively, we make that declaration. And we do that significant weather event declaration through the MMS, which is the maintenance standard, but only when and if Environment Canada has declared that as some kind of hazard, weather hazard. So this year we've seen a lot with heavy snowfall, flurry activities, again, heavy snowfall coming off, and you know, some of those warnings that have been upwards of 20 and 50 centimeters that are moving around and through. And that's what generates us looking at that. And then we look at our operations. And, you know, yes, we've only declared twice. There's been a spattering of Environment Canada notices that have come out, where if we were in that situation, we could have or may have declared at that point. We didn't have to because our operations were in a state of good repair, if you call it. So it's when that impact's there and we know that we can't really deliver what we're supposed to deliver, and we want to make that notification to the public so that they're aware that this is going on, to be a little bit more cautious on the roads, to drive to those conditions. The sidewalks might not be as good as they can be. And then we work tirelessly through that significant weather event to start to get everything back in and make everything safe again too.
We have a few minutes left. A couple of questions I want to touch on. I bet you we've been hitting the budget pretty hard.
Yes.
So tell me about that. You know, if we're into the 2025 budget already, and you know, the snow clearing budget is significant. If we run out of budget dollars, what happens? Do we stop doing plowing?
Yes.
No.
I'm joking. Absolutely joking. Yeah, and I think, and you kind of talked about it there, it is the 2025 budget, and that's a calendarization, but our winter events are seasonal. So we kind of start them in September, something like October this year, and they carry through April. So they do cross over 2 fiscal budget years. So when we're looking at it, we think winter event over that 6-month period of winter, but budget-wise, we have to start looking at January, February, March, April coming, and then October, November, December on the end. So we do look at that. We look at the trends that are what are going on. We do have a budget that's built off of 3-year averages for that line item, because what it does is it takes those significant impacts out of the budget, so that we, if you will, we take out the hills, the peaks and the valleys, and we really just put these kind of drumlins in where we can manage that and operate it. Under no circumstances would we ever stop maintaining roads. It just doesn't work that way, right? The risk to the public, the liability to the public is far too great for that. So we continue to monitor and look. We're trending about 10 to 15% over where we would have been, say, in a normal winter, which seems to be, you know, the moving target over the couple of years. So in looking at that, we look at that in April, winter, we know the end of winter is there. We start to justify in those things. And we may see some other activities that, you know, get deferred or moved that aren't critical to health and safety, infrastructure, and those items. So we try to manage that as well, so that the impact is not significant coming out of it. And we also work with our finance department, because there are reserves that can help supplement some of those losses. And those things we look again at the end of the year when we look at the whole complete budget and look at surplus and deficits across the corporation and try to balance all those out. So a lot of plays and triggers in there, but really a lot of it is looking at it, managing it, understanding it. And then when winter ends, knowing what that is, because we can kind of forecast out that November, December impact and look at it just as a calendarization again.
Appreciate that, because you know, some people might think, you know, well, the town's not doing you know, this lift, that lift, whatever it might be, because they've blown the budget. That's not the case. We have a responsibility to make sure our roads are meet the standards, but of course, from a safety standpoint, we want to make sure that folks are able to travel our roads safely.
Yeah, absolutely.
One last question. We've passed the 2025 budget back in December. What are the capital projects, very quickly, that folks will see in around Bracebridge when it comes to some of the road work and things like that?
For sure, and I'm going to use my little cheat sheet list here, but I know that we have some of the projects listed on our website. There's a bit more of a compendium on the website, and we put some information out through the tax insert as well. For roads, we're going to have the Bird Lane, Richard Street continue on. We're going to get that finalized with Storm and Water and Sewer with the district as a joint. That'll clean that up. We've got 3 paving sections on Cedar Lane. So basically from Pine Street all the way back up to entrance is going to get cleaned up, or to Park Lane, sorry. We've got a lot of granular resurfacing, $150,000 worth of granular resurfacing on our gravel road network. Hiram Street is another pulverize and pave with district. They're going to do some water and sewer work in there. Lone Pine Drive, there's 4 large culverts in the last section out there. So looking at balancing impacts and asset management, we're doing those culverts this year, and then next year go back out and redo the surface. Miriam Drive is going to be done out in Oakley Ward. There's a final section there, which will tie off that gravel section that we had some complications last year with. We were able to solidify with some money spent in the spring, and we're going to recap that now with double surface treatment. So those are some of them. Our normal stuff with our mechanical brushing and our roadside ditching and our regular maintenance items, but those are some of the big items that are on there.
Bracebridge is turning 150, and I'm wearing the 150 sweatshirt, which is a pretty unique sweatshirt in itself. And there's lots happening for 150, but you also have some things that are happening in public works that will be some legacy projects for 150. The first is a really kind of a cool opportunity to reforest some park area, and it's the 150 forest. Tell us a little bit about what 150 forest is.
For sure. And I can't take any credit for the concept and design of that, because that came from the Committee of Council for the Bracebridge 150. And they were looking at an idea to kind of plant 150 trees somewhere within. And we got together as staff and knew that there was that area off Douglas and Little Ryan's Way, that's a future park. There's a plan for the pump track, gazebo, and some parking facility there. And this would really complement that and tie the areas of Gostick Park and this Douglas Drive and our sportsplex, and then back into our other trail systems and networks. So we, as staff, kind of populated the idea back to the committee, and the committee, said that was fantastic. So we've been working with one of our normal vendors that we use, our vendor of record for our commemorative tree program, and looking at it and have 150 trees planted within that park area that still will benefit and not impact any of the future designs for the pump track or the pavilion or the parking area. It's kind of in that northern piece, running adjacent to or parallel with, I guess, the CN corridor. And the whole idea is bringing in 150 trees and planting these trees, recognizing what that time frame is now for the community, right? So it really does speak to a legacy that will hopefully outlive all of us and remain as this focal point and this amazing opportunity for this forest to grow within our urban area, and for people to enjoy nature and to enjoy just that calming peace and connection. And tying back that, there's opportunities through the committee that will come forward for our community to actually sponsor some of the trees if they want to. So, and then obviously there'll be some recognition towards that. And it's really, personally, I think it's a really cool thing to be able to put a standing forest within that urban core, not impacting, but just for the betterment of everything around it. And it really does tie together a lot of our internal trail network, and makes it a really nice connect.
And this is going to be almost like a chia pet, if you want to call it, forest, because it's going to grow quickly. These are substantial trees that we're putting in there. They're not little saplings.
No, they're going to be I'll say it in this manner, they'll be the trees that are recommended for that soil and growth, so that we're not putting in items that are going to be overgrown, that won't root, that won't establish, that'll die off, and that won't be too small, so that then they're open up to the rodents attacking them and different species. But the survivability of that forest is there, and it's something then that we can maintain as staff, because if you can imagine planting 150 trees, then we have to water and groom them and root them, and for about 2 or 3 years, 4 years, till they have substantial root to grow out.
So you'll anyone that will see this forest will, or see this 150 park, will see that forest is there pretty much as those trees are planted. It won't be something that you won't be able to see the trees for the forest, or the lack thereof, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll be able to walk to that area and know that there is a forest there for sure.
Yeah, and really exciting project, and really fits well with our town's strategic objectives. And when we talk about the environment and caring for our environment, and to be able to plant 150 trees, we all know the value of what trees do and canopies of cover of trees do for our community. And this is just another example of us kind of moving that environmental piece forward as we can, and attaching it to 150, which is absolutely wonderful.
It dovetails together very nicely, and it does meet a multitude of council strategic plan items. Environment stewardship, it talks and connects on to healthy and vibrant communities. And I think when you look at what Muskoka is, I can remember a time back when I first started in public works, and our tree budget was just to remove trees. It wasn't anything about planting. And you fast forward 25 years, and it is about managing all that. It's almost a 2-to-1 replacement as replants to removals. So when you look at what Muskoka is, and we do have significant amounts of trees, but to be able to plant a forest within the urban core, I think it's just a fantastic thing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's not the only 150 project that's fallen onto the laps of Public Works. We were very fortunate in Bracebridge that we have a beautiful park, Memorial Park, in our downtown core. And in that park, a number of amenities, including the band shell. But our band shell is getting a little tired. So one of the 150 legacy projects is a new band shell. Tell us a little bit about what kind of jump-started replacing the band shell, of the status of the current band shell, and what we're looking at for a new band shell, and who are we partnering with that project.
For sure, and I'll emphasize it too, and it is Memorial Park, and it's right in the downtown, and it's a very significant piece for that park, and I think for the community. A lot of events, a lot of different items that happen in the park. It is absolutely been faded in its aesthetic and appeal, and it's starting to fail. A few years back, and we've had a couple, COVID kicking in and confusing timelines and everything. Mr. Ken Stroud came forward and worked with the town for a monetary donation towards the first rehabilitation, kind of moving that dial, and it allowed us as staff to look at that sooner, to bring it forward a little bit in the capital plan. And as you're aware, Your Worship, Council supported that, and we were able to get some designs done. Significant price tag, obviously, on rebuilding something as a centerpiece like that. And as we started going through, Mr. Stroud continued to be a part of that planning process, design process, and really as a contributor to the whole piece. And as we started to progress, the Bracebridge Muskoka Lakes Rotary Club came forward and expressed an interest in collaborating with the town and seeing how their members could physically complete the work, and making sure we had qualified vendors and everything that way, and working through what we need to do to make sure that we do have this substantial project completed. We've been able to move forward with Bracebridge Muskoka Lakes Rotary. This will be coming in a report shortly to General Committee on the 4th. But they'll look after the kind of build of it, the general contracting, if you will. We'll have town staff then looking as the contract administration over it. So it may come in as definitely a completed project, and then maybe some financial benefit to the community as well. And I think, coupled with that, our other friends at the Bracebridge Rotary came forward and have provided a substantial monetary contribution towards the project as well. So I think, when we're looking at that, and we have collaborations with these really strong community groups that have come forward to not just do in-kind contribution, but financial contributions as well, and not just applying that and kind of leaving, but applying that and staying as part of the process, and really bringing that to fruition. So I think that I'm hopeful that it'll be open by Canada Day, but I suspect it'll be further into Labor or Thanksgiving. I'm just looking at time frames and things of that nature, and how our schedules build up with contractors and everything. but it'll definitely be done this year. And it'll be another of those pieces that it will last 25, 35, 40 years. And again, just be that strong anchor and foundation within Memorial Park.
Mm-hmm. And it's certainly going to be complementary to our downtown master plan and Memorial Park as being a significant zone in that downtown master plan with new band shell. Not this year, but we do have in our master plan washrooms for that area as well. So that's something that folks will be seeing at some point in the near future. Just wanted to talk a bit about the new band shell. I know the old band shell, I've heard from many people it's not accessible.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard from many people that sight lines are very poor. I've heard from many people that it's looking very rough. Sound system is not the best in terms of accessing the sound system. So the new band shell, what is it going to look like? Just give us some kind of sneak peeks of what people might be seeing.
For sure. The preliminary and final design that was approved by council has it as an octagon. The reason why it was presented. So I should rewind with that. Staff has worked with the architect, and we did go to the community to seek inputs on that. And we in Public Works as staff deal with a lot of the user groups, as does recreation, as does corporate services through event programming, through our own recreation programming within the park, from rentals and all those things. And those users provide us feedback, and we listen to that feedback. And we reached out to all those user groups and said, hey, what are the conflicts? What are the constraints in that? Some very good feedback from the community, very positive towards what the betterments could be. Accessibility was one of them. Sound system came up multiple times. But it was also the orientation to the park, because where the band shell sits now, it kind of cuts off itself a little bit from parts of the park. Mm-hmm. And you can't kind of sit in the whole park and enjoy what's ever happening on that stage or around it. So in that, the presentation that was to council, that final design has an octagon, which allows, the 8 sides and a little bit more openness and connect to every quadrant of the park. It will be situated a little bit closer to Rene Case and a little bit closer to Kimberley. And that is to orientate it so that it sits better to the open area. It gives a little bit more room to the cenotaph, so it's not crowding over on our celebrations. So I think the orientation, the style, design, and then it's to the heritage. So it's not something that's out of downtown Toronto. It's not something that's bought out of a catalog that's just aluminum and placed up. It's a legacy item for the community. Mm-hmm. It builds off of that Muskoka heritage. Mm-hmm. It's being built and constructed and financed through the folks of the community. Mm-hmm. And I think the overall final design speaks to that. It'll be fully accessible from the rear with elevations and ramps that go up to the back, fully accessible on the stage. We've looked at paneling, electrical and audios and all that in areas that are usable and desirable to the folks that use it on a regular basis. So we've looked at a whole bunch of those different concepts, and we're eager to kick it off and get things moving.
Yeah, I'm very pleased with the design that council approved. It, as you say, it's an octagon design, mimicking some of the architectural features of Woodchester Villa, and just that openness of it. Just see it as being a very welcoming kind of band shell, and it's important. I know that some people say, well, the band shell's been. Current band shell has been there forever. Well, actually, it hasn't. I think this new band shell will be the 4th band shell Correct. In that park over the history of Bracebridge over 150 years. So there's a lot of history with the band shell that's there currently, but wasn't the original band shell either. There was some maturations of band shells in the park before that. So we're getting close to the end of our time, and I really wanted to thank you for coming in. This is your first time on Abridged. Maybe your last time, because you are going to be starting as the new CAO for the Township of Lake Bays in March. And congratulations.
Thank you very much.
We certainly going to miss you as our Director of Public Works. And I know that Lake Bays is very happy with their selection. And I know you'll do a fantastic job as their new CAO. Geoff, thank you for all your commitment and work you've done for the town of Bracebridge. Really appreciate it. Thanks for coming into the bridge today.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I appreciate it.
Well, I'm joined by 2 guests that I have had the pleasure of knowing for a number of years. Cheryl Kelley, who's the Director of planning and economic development for the town of Bracebridge, and Matt Holmes, who's the manager of planning for the town of Bracebridge. Both experts in their fields when it comes to matters around development and all those matters related to development in our community. It's really kind of an exciting time, challenging but exciting for the town as we have opened up our official plan and it's going through that review. Tell us first of all about what is an official plan, what does it mean for a community, and maybe get a little bit of update on where we're at with our official plan in the town of Bracebridge.
So the official plan is kind of our keystone document when it comes to planning. It lays out how development's going to occur within the municipality. Where you're going to put your commercial, where you're going to put your residential, employment lands, that sort of thing. And it also kind of sets out criteria that for council to evaluate if you have new proposals for development, the type of things that we look at, of course, protection of the environment, traffic. So it really kind of brings all the aspects of development in together and sets the stage for other policy documents like zoning bylaws and site plan and that. So we just released a draft of our official plan policies, I think last Friday. It's available on the Engage Bracebridge website, so engagebracebridge.ca, and you click on the official plan review tab. It's right at the top of the top links. We have an open house that will be coming on March 18th, I believe, Cheryl? Yeah. So that'll be held at the library here in the Muskoka Leon's auditorium upstairs. We have two sessions, one from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. and one from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. So it's a great opportunity for the public to get out, hear what the official plan's about, and then ask questions of us or our consultant as well.
So it's a document that fundamentally guides the direction in terms of the development or how a community grows, and its growth. It's more than just houses and subdivisions. It's got the component to recreational, and it's got the component to commercial and industrial and things like that. So maybe talk a little bit about and share with us those fundamental things of an official plan, and what it has to comply with. It's just not a standalone document that just sits there on its own. What is it in the relationship to broader planning, provincial direction, and things like that?
So the town's official plan is required to be consistent with the provincial planning statement. Name changed in the last year or so, so I had to stumble on that one a little bit. But we also must conform to the district's official plan. So the way the districts, sets our settlement areas, for example, or our urban areas, and so that whatever our policies, they also have to conform to the district official plan. And certainly our official plan review has been guided a lot by the council priorities that were set at this term of council. So the things around housing and how to make, our attempts at trying to make housing more affordable, how we can, densify a little bit in this community, and also, the other priority that council has around environmental protection.
So yeah, it's one of those documents that really is, and folks, look at, the town and saying, what are you doing about housing? What can we do about housing? Well, really, the official plan is one of those primary documents that really can set the stage for density, housing stock, the types of housing, where that's located. It's a big nut to crack when it comes to bringing more housing online that we want to see in our community. But maybe you can just share with us some of those policies, in their draft form, of course, but some of the directions maybe we're looking at when it comes to, the density and secondary units and things like that.
Yeah, I think one thing I just start off by saying is, obviously we have an official plan right now. It was done in 2013, which at this point is 12 years old, but there's a lot of good bones in that document already. So we're not looking at, throwing out the whole OP and starting over here. I think we have a really good foundation that council set in 2013, and we're really looking at building on that. But as Cheryl had indicated, probably the biggest priority in this update is housing. We have policy directions that were taken to council, and there were 49 policy directions, and I believe 31 of them were based around housing. So we're looking at things like, setting out more current criteria when we evaluate housing proposals, making sure that there's a mix of housing type, making sure there's a mix of tenure, rental and ownership, trying to encourage more affordable units to be built, and not built in isolation, but built with kind of market valued housing as well, because that's kind of fundamentals of planning, that it all works best when we're all living together in the same community.
We've heard that I guess official plan when it comes to rural areas or a municipality may have some challenges in terms of higher densities. Are we looking at the ability to increase densities in some of the rural areas of our community?
So we are limited a little bit. We obviously fairly limited because of private services, keeping the rural character. So we're not looking at anything like promoting multiple residential development, but we do have lot sizes that we're looking at decreasing a little bit. Right now, you have to have a 5-acre lot minimum. We're looking at putting that down to 2.5 acres. The rural area does have a lot of opportunity to still develop in a responsible manner while still protecting those environmental features that are key to the character of Bracebridge too.
Mm-hmm. And Cheryl, you touched on it about the official plan having to follow the directions of the province, and even the District of Muskoka has to be compliant with the District of Muskoka's official plan. How do those things work? We're opening up our official plan as a town of Bracebridge. We're obviously going to have a new official plan. The District of Muskoka's plan is not being reviewed currently. I understand it's going to be starting at some point, but we have to conform to that. Is it so much higher level, and it gives us the flexibility to kind of create and shape our own destiny when it comes to planning, or how does that work?
Yeah, I think the district sets a lot of high level framework in a lot of areas. Certainly the ability for the town to plan around its urban center. There's not a lot of restriction that's going to come through the district official plan. But I would say some of those larger items like, the protection of lake and lake system health, they are reviewing those policies, and our policies will have to conform to that. From a timing perspective, which comes first, they are our approval authority. So whatever policies are in place at the time, or their policy directions, is what they're going to approve when we get to that stage, for sure.
And of course, I think everyone knows that the current government has brought forward initiatives to see significant increases in housing stock across the province. Bill 23, people refer to that. How does that play into how we're developing our official plan? Obviously, we have to follow those provincial directions when it comes to Ontario policy on planning. And does that, we have no flexibility when it comes to that?
We don't have flexibility, particularly when it comes to a lot of the things around requiring additional units. So the legislation from the province is pretty clear. No official plan shall prohibit these things from happening. So I think in the urban area, we're allowed 3 units on a property, 2 additional units. That is required in a fully serviced urban area. So that's how, they class that as being gentle density. So you're adding some density to an existing neighborhood. So for example, to allow that. And I guess, I would say before there's a panic about that, not every person in this community is going to put 2 additional units in their house. But it does allow it for those situations where you have multi-generational families, where they're struggling to be able to, find a place to live, and, their parents happen to have a great property, and then you end up with not only the kids maybe and one of their families, but also a parent. And I do think that, that is something that the community can accommodate within the existing service areas.
Yeah, it's I'm really kind of pleased to hear that, and obviously expected that we'd be being able to provide housing choices for folks that would keep families together, would allow aging parents to be with their children. There's many different scenarios and challenges in our community. You look at young persons and their ability to find appropriate housing and affordable housing, and having that opportunity I'm not sure if I want both my adult children back in the house, but that's an option, and certainly I say that as kidding, but young people too, finding housing and challenges for them is a bit of a pickle for a lot of folks. So we talked about kind of the housing piece. The official plan is our community's growing. Is our urban area changing? Are we looking at expanding the urban area within the town of Bracebridge? I think a lot of that plays into the district and the servicing of lands and things like that too, and what they do in terms of putting pipes in the ground into serviced areas for supporting growth. Maybe chat a little bit about that in terms of that, because you see in Bracebridge, we've had a lot of development happen. The Maloney subdivision's built out. There's other plans of subdivision that have not even had a shovel in the ground. But we want to make sure that we're able to respond to those kind of housing needs, and part of that is through the urban mapping and what is the urban core of Bracebridge.
So I'll start and I'll let Matt finish that because he's been looking at the mapping. But at this point in time, we don't have a boundary expansion or a large boundary expansion proposed in the draft of the official plan. And that's largely because, the recent work done by the District of Muskoka and the growth strategy, we do have designated lands. So notwithstanding that some of them may be within a subdivision, some of them are not within a subdivision, but they are designated within the urban core.
Yeah, and I think historically what we've seen probably over the last 10 years is we've seen a lot of the development going north in Bracebridge. So up Manitoba Street in the Mattamy subdivision area. And I think what we'll see in the future is more of a shift to the west. A lot of those northern lands have now been developed. And a lot of the projects that we're seeing coming forward are happening west, which is great for the facility that we're in right now. The Muskoka Lakes Muskoka Lumber Community Center. So I think we are looking at maybe one or two requests to change the boundary, but we're not looking at any major changes to it.
And I'm sure Mayor Kelley is just giving the fist pump that he got a shout out of having this facility named after Muskoka Lakes. It's I guess one of the things too that we've seen a lot as planning applications is a lot of infilling that's happening within our community. And there, as you pointed out, Cheryl, there is service land, plans of subdivision, in some cases site plans that have sat without development happening. But then we're seeing as interest rates may drop, as the economic factors may change, a lot of that infilling is happening. That's a good thing in many respects, isn't it?
Certainly, and I think just to bring it back, the development piece back to the OP review. This is the time we would really like the community to understand what the official plan says. Because at the end of the day, when we start dealing with development applications and we're doing infilling, then the community gets challenged, surrounding that area saying, well, why are you doing that? And then it's almost like the analysis that we're undertaking within the town's official plan and presenting to council, it's hard for them to understand. So this is a really good time, to come out to our open house and talk to us. We'll try and take out the non-planner talk, the non-planning terms, and
planner speak.
Yeah, we'll try and take out the planner speak and talk to them about what it means.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that because as we started out, Matt, you'd mentioned about upcoming open houses and opportunities for the community to be engaged. I absolutely appreciate and agree that folks have a chance now to not just review the plan, but also provide some comment and have some say on what that plan looks like. And so just as a reminder, if you can just share again, we have open houses coming up in March.
Yep. So the draft again is available right now on bracebridge.ca under the official plan project. We have an open house at the Muskoka Lumber Community Center in the Muskoka Leon's auditorium, which is Tuesday, March 18th. And there's two sessions, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. and 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. We'll be presenting the same information at both sessions. It just gives people a different opportunity to participate. And then we do have a scheduled public meeting for the April 2nd Planning and Development Committee at the town offices at 1000 Taylor Court, starting at 2:30 p.m.
So if someone can't make the open house, perhaps maybe is not able to make the public meeting, the information will be on the World Wide Web on the town's website somewhere. I'm sure it's. Do you have the direction to that?
So currently, right now, the draft is on engagebracebridge.ca.
Okay,
A couple of weeks leading up to the statutory public meeting, there will be a staff report. So that'll be available on the agendas and minutes tab of bracebridge.ca.
Mm-hmm. And then anyone that wanted to provide comment, they can do that by email as well, or letter or whatever.
Yeah, certainly we encourage that people take a look at the official plan. If they have questions or whatever, they can email directly to planning@bracebridge.ca, and those questions will get filtered through to Matt and his team, and we'll be able to respond, or if it's just receiving a comment, council gets all of those comments as well.
I want to thank both of you for taking some time to come in and talk a little bit of official plan stuff. I've been in we'll call it the business as a counselor for the last 15 years, and I'm always learning something about how we our official plan and how we manage development in our community. And thank you for answering some of my stupid questions along the way as well. But Cheryl and Matt, appreciate your time coming in and talking to us on Abridged.
That's a wrap on this episode of Abridged. Thanks to my guests for taking the time to join me today. This podcast was produced in the Dr. Ted Joe recording studio at the Colson Family Bracebridge Library. Thanks for listening. Be sure to join me on our next episode where we talk everything Bracebridge.